welcome to The Very Worst, a podcast that is only about all of the Pokemon movies. I am Matt Aucamp.
I'm Pat Reber.
And I'm Ashleigh Stillman.
And today we're going to be talking about just a special little film that we watched and just went gaga for. It's called Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. Remember that one?
That's so...
Which one is this?
It's called Lucario and the Memory of Moose.
Lucario and Aura.
It doesn't matter. Half the words in the title of this movie are made up.
That's true.
Lucaria and Aurora.
Yeah.
My favorite movie.
This is my favorite movie. I don't know if you guys know. Hey, how are you two doing?
Yeah, it's not enough.
Tell me something that happened in your cool week.
Something that happened. Oh, I went to Long Island on Saturday. Tooled around Long Island a little bit.
Don't you just live there though?
Do I live in Long Island?
Isn't it all the same place? That's in New York City, right?
No.
Long Island is
Long
New York
Island
City.
is not in New York City. No.
Long Island is one of the 5 boroughs, isn't it?
It is not. It is not. Long Island is not part of the 5 boroughs.
Long Island.
Long Island.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, please name all
Queens.
the 5 boroughs. Mm-hmm.
Manhattan. Astoria.
The Statue of Liberty.
Nope. No.
Okay, let's try to guess the 5th borough.
All right, let's go for it.
Atlantis.
Rochester.
No. Mm-mm.
Moneybags.
Buffalo.
Bags?
New York.
That's the state. That's the entire state.
Gotham.
Coney Island.
Metropolis.
Yeah, you're missing Metropolis. That's the one you were missing.
Philadelphia.
That's your city. That's the city you live in.
New Island.
New Island is part of it too.
Philadelphia has 8 boroughs.
Yeah.
Does it really?
Yeah. See if you can name those.
Yeah. Try it.
I cannot.
Name
I will. I'm going to throw in the white flag right now. I can't do it.
South, north,
South,
west, east, southeast, southwest, northeast,
what?
northwest, and central.
This is not actual boroughs.
9 boroughs.
9 boroughs. Okay.
I feel like
if you're so
falling for this,
fucking smart, what is the 5 boroughs?
You mean in my city, the city that I live in?
Yeah.
Okay, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan.
She has Wikipedia
the
open.
Bronx.
The Bronx. That's the one we weren't thinking
There's
of.
Staten Island.
Staten Island and Long Island are the same island.
They are not, actually. They are 2 different places.
What about Coney Island?
Coney Island is part of Brooklyn.
Those are the same island.
Yeah.
They are not the same island.
I think.
I'm genuinely getting upset right now.
Okay, what did you do in Long Island? What's in Long Island? Iced tea?
Went bowling. We went to a diner, found a couple of cool diners, found some model trains.
You went to multiple
And,
diners?
Yeah. Well, because there was this tiny little soda lunchette place I walked into, and it was like this. It was itty bitty and very cute and like preserved. And then went to another diner and actually dinner.
And you told them you host a Pokemon podcast, and they were like, "Ooh, right
I told
this
everybody.
way."
I have flyers that I hand out to everybody, and when I leave a tip, I always leave like my business card that says "The Very Worst," Ashleigh Stillman, Matt Aucamp, Pat Reber. And then I ask them if I can leave them at the cashier. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have a few business cards. Can I just leave a few here? And they always say no, but I'm gonna get them one day. One day.
All right, Ashleigh. Keep grinding.
My investment of 5,000 business cards that I bought is not gonna go to waste.
I legitimately, over Thanksgiving, did everything I could to avoid having to explain this podcast to my extended family.
You're kidding me.
I at all costs, whenever they were like, so what else are you doing? Or are there any podcasts you're listening to? Do you do a podcast?
They asked you that?
Yeah, I would dip
They did
out
not
of it.
actually ask you that.
Well, because they know I'm a comedian, and they don't know anything about comedy outside of like.
There are some comedians that have podcasts.
Exactly.
My family knows that I do comedy, and all I get asked is like, "Oh, stand up? Can you do us a joke?" I'm like,
Right.
That's not. what I do. No one ever asks about podcasts. I don't think any of my extended family even knows what a podcast is. So I don't get asked, thankfully, I don't get asked many questions about my comedy career.
My family doesn't ask me anything about comedy ever for any reason.
Or anything else for that.
And if I talk about it, they quickly change the subject. I think at one point during Thanksgiving dinner, just tangentially, I mentioned Pokemon. And my dad was like, oh, come on. That's the extent.
My sister called me tonight, and she was like, what are you doing? It's like, actually, I'm recording something. She's like, what? Like, podcast. She's like, you do a podcast? Yeah. She's like, oh, wait, is that about Pokemon? I was like, yeah. She's like, okay, cool. So anyway. So not even my immediate family knows much about this.
But did you tell her that this specific one was about Lucario and the Mystery of Mew?
That's exactly what I said.
And she still wasn't sold?
I don't think you guys understand. I still can't get, like, my loved ones to listen to this. Like, my very best friend listened to, like, a portion and was like, I cannot. I'm so sorry.
My adult girlfriend, when I ask her if she listens to the podcast, she always just tells me, I'm saving them. And I, like,
for what?
Exactly.
That's so good. What a sweet way to say absolutely not.
Yeah, just say, no, there's no way I'm listening to this bullshit. How about your loved one, Pat? How about your wife?
I don't think she's ever even tried.
Does she ask you about it ever?
She's like, hey, how'd it go? And I'll be like, oh, it was good. It was a lot of fun.
And then you look over and she's already asleep.
Ashleigh, she doesn't
She's
know
not in the
you
room
very
anymore.
well, but she has
Truth.
listened to Matt and I talk about things much dumber than Pokemon movies at length. So I think she's just had enough of it.
It makes a lot of sense.
And
There's a lot of sense.
That really is how she explains it to me, is that she doesn't need to listen to Matt and I talk more.
But she was like, but there's this other person who is very funny who you haven't heard before. Who also talks about bullshit.
I haven't seen your wife in like 2 months, and she's still sick of the last time that she...
I haven't seen your wife ever, and she's sick of me.
Let's talk about this movie. Guys,
Yeah, sure.
Lucario and the Mystery of Mew is the most anime-ass Pokemon movie that has existed so far.
It is some real anime.
It is
shit.
pretty anime, isn't it?
There's like ninjas and knights and like people using the power deep inside to do karate moves.
There are giant robots, big old sludge monster looking robots.
Oh yeah, there's a robot I'm so excited to get to.
And the main Pokemon is like a cool guy with spikes who tosses out one-liners and
sticks to walls and stuff.
Attacks people for no reason. Like, this is a real anime movie. This is the first time while watching Pokemon I was like, oh yeah, this is anime.
This one's exciting. I think it holds together better than any of the Pokemon movies. Like, it doesn't drag as much as the other ones. The plot makes a little more sense than the other ones. Like, I guess they're trending upward.
Yeah, they seem to.
It's still not very interesting overall.
Yeah.
But they at least tell like a cohesive story.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
Maybe I should say this for the end, but I think this was my favorite one so far.
Wow. Okay.
Genuinely.
We'll get there.
Yeah. For my money, which I did spend on this movie, I spent money on this one.
Why?
Yeah.
Not that we have or haven't spent money on all the other ones.
But it appears that the bad Pokemon movies are short and sweet. So they at least kind of like spare you having to deal with something that's drug out for a crazy long time. But the good Pokemon movies have this extra 15 to 20 minutes on the end where you're kind of like, okay, come on.
And that's the other thing too, is you know that these writers and producers are making a movie and they're going, yeah, this is a great movie.
And this is where everyone's going to cry. And this is where everyone's going to jump out on top of their chairs and cheer.
Like, they're really, at least in the old ones, they were making garbage movies, and they were like, yeah, we're making garbage movies for kids. It's sugar, but in movie form.
Right.
But now they treat them like pieces of art, and they're still just boring, nonsensical movies.
about little creatures that shoot their life energy at other creatures.
I've grown pretty cynical.
Do you want to just?
Cynical.
Do you guys want to start just like digging through the movie? Do you want to walk through it?
Yeah, this one has a
Sure.
nutty opening.
Yeah.
Right? It raises so many questions just about the universe itself in the opening, like Pokemon,
Right.
the mystery of life part that they do.
Well, it was more like they explained exactly what Pokemon were. People have been searching for them. Are we opening up on planet Earth? Is that what we're to assume?
We don't know. We're
we don't-
opening up on a planet that looks
Earth-like.
very much like Earth. Yeah.
Right. And then we do a quick recap of every movie that's come previously.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before that, in this one, he says, so this is the first thing that got those gears grinding. He says that Pokemon are strange and wondrous creatures that appeared on this planet,
Oh,
which is
I didn't catch that.
which is very bizarre. Like they just
one day were here.
one day Pokemon showed up, and then he started painting it as like they grew and they all of a sudden turned into this, like they evolved from a single type of Pokemon, just showed up on this planet one day,
Guys, okay.
and evolved from like a handful into a bunch of types of Pokemon.
So what this is implying is that this is actually a future world where humans like they pre-existed before Pokemon. And do you think Pokemon are like alien creatures?
Yes, because he touches
Like,
on
sort of-
another thing here that I think we've only touched on in the Detective Pikachu trailer discussion.
Yeah.
He's talking about a time when Pokemon and humans were in conflict with each other, and then eventually they just learned to live together in
Right.
harmony, which is really bizarre.
Yeah.
They're just some like old time
But that
when
raises a lot of
everybody's-
questions. Doesn't that raise the question as to why Lucario and Sir Anthony, is that his name?
Sir Aaron.
Sir Anthony? Andrew? Something like that?
Sir Aaron.
Sir
Sir
Aaron.
Anthony is the Phillies
Sir
pitcher.
Aaron. Doesn't that raise a question as to why Sir Aaron and Lucario have that kind of relationship?
A sexual one?
Jesus,
Yes.
Ashleigh.
The one where they have sex all the time.
I don't know. It's
Because
hard.
They're such good friends.
Is that how you guys interpreted it? So,
They're such good fuck buddies.
do you think we're ever gonna see this oft referred to past where the humans and Pokemon were living in conflict all the time?
I don't know. And then what happened after that? Where it seems like so here's my working theory right now is that whatever planet this is, we'll call it Earth just for the sake of argument. So we
Poke
Sake of
Earth.
argument.
Yeah, Poke Earth. Thank you. Humans were existing, but not very far evolved.
They weren't thriving.
Pokemon came from outer space and landed on the planet, immediately jumped to the top of the food chain because they're dangerous magic animals.
Yeah.
People started to evolve as the Pokemon evolved into other types of Pokemon, but because they were at the top of the food chain, their evolutions were less effective. People eventually gained the edge. It was just constant conflict, but people were steadily gaining ground on Pokemon.
Until this flashback.
Guys, hold on. This would explain why there's no other animals on Earth, because Pokemon wiped them out.
Pokemon just fucking ate
Just
everything.
destroyed
And maybe
them.
that's why they were losing the edge against the humans, because all they had to eat was humans.
It's like that level of the old Star Wars Battlefront for PlayStation 2. The Tatooine one. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Where there's also
My brother played this, but I never actually played it.
where there's also the Tusken Raiders are there, and you have to decide whether you're gonna fight. Like if you're the rebels, fight the Empire. If you're the Empire, fight the rebels. But are you gonna fight the bad guys and the Tusken Raiders at the same time? Or are you just gonna focus on the bad guys and let the Tusken Raiders like accept the casualties from the Tusken Raiders, knowing that they're doing as much casualty on your enemy? You know. So it's that sort of thing. The all I mean to say is that is that the Pokemon had too many enemies. You know what a better metaphor would have been? Ancient Rome. I fucked up so bad.
Yes. But that would explain, because Pat was saying, like, the only resource they had left were humans, and since humans knew how to defend themselves better, took up arms and began to protect themselves. And since Pokemon had a level of intelligence, they ended up working together in harmony.
Did they start
Does that
working
make
together in
sense?
harmony, or is this flashback with Lucario and Mew the moment when everyone starts working together in harmony? I guess at this point, there are some Pokemon that are
That's
like...
what I think, though. I think this...
Right, it takes us
I
to...
think the flashback is during the contention.
My confusion here is that the armies seem to have trained Pokemon in them.
Well, yeah,
They do.
I think that's all armies are at that point. Like, once you learn to train Pokemon. I think this is after Pokemon and humans have learned to get along. We go to, like, this old-timey... This is how the movie starts. We go to this old-timey, like, medieval battle. And there's all these Pokemon in armor charging at each other. There's a red side and a green side. Mm-hmm. And I just think that this is two different kingdoms fighting each other using all their trained Pokemon.
Okay. So you don't think we are going... So you think maybe in a future movie we'll get to see this chaotic past, or we'll never see it?
Maybe,
I think we're
don't
going to
know.
see the chaotic past in Detective Pikachu. To be honest with you. That's not even a joke.
Okay.
I sincerely believe that because you're like, we're humans and Pokemon live in harmony. And I really believe that we're going to have this flashback of when they didn't live in harmony, and now we're...
I hope so.
And then the
man.
climax is going to be them fighting again and blah, 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 blah. And that's how it's going to go.
So...
we got a lot riding on that Detective Pikachu movie.
yeah. So, the narrator tells us that this tale begins in the, quote, legendary past, and his continuing description of it is long before Pokeballs ever existed.
Yeah.
Which is such a wild thing. Like, that'd be like if you were talking about ancient Rome. I'll go back to that well. If you were talking about ancient Rome and you're like, this is an ancient Rome long before vacuum cleaners ever existed. Just like you pick an invention and you just...
Well, if you're telling a story about vacuum cleaners, I mean...
But yeah, but they're not telling a story about Pokeballs. They're telling a story about Pokemon.
Yeah, maybe that it would work if you were telling a story about dust. If you were like,
Yeah.
let me tell you about the dust in ancient Rome, long before they had vacuum cleaners.
Right.
What I'm saying is this is a boring story we're about to...
So, okay, we see, like, some Pokemon flying around and some armies advancing on each other, and we see a Lucario running through, like, this rocky terrain.
And he is hot.
He is so hot.
This is... I brought this up briefly right before we started recording, but this is the Pokemon that everybody wants to fuck. This is like...
Think so?
That's not true, though. No,
This
that's
is-
not true. There's another... The other one with the other one has tits. That's the one everyone wants to fuck.
Well, yeah, but not everybody is looking for tits, Ashleigh.
Yeah, get out of your...
You're right. Some people like some junk in the trunk. I
Also,
remember that.
I don't mean to
But-
be the PC police, but they're called breasts.
So anyway,
Boobs.
Lucario, who does not have bodacious jugs, is...
He does have a giant butt, though.
He's got such a...
Yeah.
But-
He is thick.
He does, and he looks like
Feces.
he looks like he's wearing a furry costume. I think that's why there's like a niche of the Poke internet that wants to.
Lucario is
fuck
what we like to
Lucario.
call a thought.
Like a small, sexy, fit man wearing a furry costume.
We need to
He's
stop.
like if Knuckles from the Sonic games was
Oh, he does
a
look like
muscular
Knuckles.
ninja
Yeah, like
and
if
blue.
yeah, like
I
if
didn't even think of that.
like if you wanted to fuck Knuckles.
Yeah, then this is the Pokemon for you.
But he's running through this rocky terrain, and he's got this crazy, like, anime-ass pose where his hands are flung behind him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like he's running so fast it's making his hands trail behind him, and he's, like, leaned forward. And he says this thing that I don't catch. Now that I'm reading my notes, I understand what I misheard. But at the time, I thought he said, he closes his eyes and thinks in his head, Laura is with me.
Yes. Wait, what was the word he said?
Well, we learn throughout the movie that he's obsessed with a thing called aura. So I'm pretty sure when I
Right.
heard Laura is with me, we could assume that he actually said
He
aura.
meant aura. But the thing is, like, I was trying to figure out if aura was what he was saying in the beginning because I didn't think that was it. Also, there's a very weird conception of what aura is in this movie.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
Right.
Get to it. But yes, he says aura is with me, and he starts using his psychic powers to actually search the terrain.
Yeah, he's like remote viewing.
And sort of does a disembodiment.
He's like the Pokemon who stared at goats. No one saw that movie.
So,
Not even
yeah.
me.
I did
But
not
I
see
know
that
the
movie.
reference. So a pack of armored Houndoom show up and like attack him. And he runs away and he touches like a crystal and he says, "Hear me, Sir Aaron." And then we cut to this like gothic ass D&D wizard.
Yeah, this guy is rad. He looks like a colonial pirate that's
Yes.
that got married to a noblewoman and had to live the noble life, but still wanted to look like a pirate. That's
But this is when you know, it's like, oh, this is anime. Oh, this guy is the the quintessential
Epitome.
anime character. Epitome.
Yeah, he looks like. Well, he also looks like if he looks like one of those Tumblrs where somebody's like, "Hey, I'll draw your D&D character for you."
he looks like if they had cowboys in medieval Europe and they liked dressing in all black.
Yeah.
He also he has that same like half circle with the dot inside of it symbol that Pokemon trainers wear.
Yeah, that like Ash Ketchum wears, except for Pokeballs don't exist yet.
Pokeballs don't exist yet, number one. Number two, his is shaped like his head, like he's got the anime hair flaring out the
Yeah,
side,
that's true.
and so does his Pokeball logo.
And he's hanging out with Princess Zelda.
Thank you. God damn it, you stole my joke. The whole time I was thinking, I was like, so Princess Zelda's here. This is very cool.
Yeah. They're hanging and they're talking to Lucario through like a crystal as he fucks those dogs up.
Yeah. Fucks those dogs.
He fucks those dogs right up. And Princess Zelda's like, "I won't run away." And the wizard guy, Sir Aaron, jumps. He waves this like crazy staff in the air and he jumps on a Pidgeot. And he starts flying away.
I did not realize Pidgeots were so large.
Yeah, those things are huge. That was wild to me as well.
I didn't realize that.
That's awesome.
Is it were they disproportionately sized for this movie, or are they actually that large, like in the regular series?
I have no idea. I assume they're that large. But like
that's a real big.
They're named after pigeons,
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
seems incomprehensible.
Oh, imagine a pigeon that big. That would be. Well, let's not.
Let's never imagine a pigeon that big. So, yeah, Lucario's running around with his arms behind his back, and he runs into and Aaron like intercepts him, and they're chatting, and Sir Aaron breaks little Lucario's heart by going, "I've abandoned the queen and the kingdom, and I'll never return."
Oh yeah, he does like that whole get out of here. We don't even want you here.
We don't want you. He throws rocks at
That
Lucario.
heart.
But then, but Lucario says something. He says, "That's impossible." And then Andrew throws his staff down, and it starts lighting up.
Oh,
Am I
like
right?
Rita Repulsa. Like Rita Repulsa from Power Rangers, where she would throw her. What didn't she have a thing where she would throw a staff down and it would summon a monster? Only this is Rita Repulsa in reverse because the staff is the proto Pokeball that sucks Lucario in.
Sure.
Reverse Rita Repulsor. That's my new vocal warm up.
And then Sir Aaron flies on his Pidgeot into this big giant glowing tree.
Right.
Yeah, leaving Lucario trapped behind in the gem in the middle of the staff.
And then Princess Zelda is staring at the tree and she's like, "That wave is coming from the tree of beginning. It's crying." Which we have no context for.
Yeah,
and it's
it
just
means
like
nothing to me.
nonsense words, which is why I wrote it down because I'm like, what the fuck am I watching?
I can't. That is one thing about this intro is it's supposed to set the stage for you, but they're talking about things that you don't learn about until a half an hour into the movie.
Yeah.
As much as it pains me that we're probably going to rewatch this movie, I am excited to watch this introduction, understanding what's happening.
Yeah, that's true. Yo, I have a question. Is the indication here that the blue crystal that trapped Lucario, that is what the inside of Pokeballs are made of?
That's a thought.
Yeah, I mean,
don't know.
they found a way to capture and contain a Pokemon. I have to imagine that if it's not the material Pokeballs are made of, it's at least the natural phenomenon that the technology was based on.
Is it? And like they never touch on this in the movie, but it seems significant, right?
Yeah, it seems like early Pokeball.
Yeah. So we see the armies; they're about to clash. Then the Ho-Oh turns into Mew. This is all like super confusing, by the way. Like eventually this law makes sense, but it's crazy confusing. Ho-Oh turns into Mew, and then everything starts glowing green. Pidgeot returns to Princess Zelda, hands her the staff that Lucario's in, and suddenly we like pull out. And it's a lady reading her child. A lady we don't ever see again.
Yeah.
Reading her child we don't ever see again.
This legendary story.
The storybook. And she says, Aaron the knight had gone into the tree to awaken Mew. And then basically just like everyone felt better and became friends, the end. And then we get a rad-ass opening theme.
Yeah, this one.
Oh, God.
And they have like all these they go to great lengths to show us that time is passing by showing us vehicles transforming into other vehicles, like a chariot transforming into like a palanquin transforming into a car transforming into like a cooler car. And it's like, guys, we would have gotten it. Like, you didn't need to go to those lengths.
Yeah.
You could have cut that minute out of the
We
movie.
Also, you're cutting to modern time. You already told us this was legendary time.
Right.
But also, they repeat several times within the movie that, like, you've been asleep for centuries. Like,
Yeah,
they
this
say it
was
over and over
1,000
and over.
years ago.
Yeah, we definitely would get it. So do we have another new narrator here, or have I just lost any sense of familiarity over the narrator's
No, he
voice?
No, this one is
he
definitely
sounds
different.
Yeah.
He's trying real hard to do the same voice, but he is a different person.
He is, but it's a different person.
How
it's kinda
many-
like when they replaced Kermit the
How many narrators have we had so far?
That's a good question.
It feels
I
like
have no
every
idea.
second movie we get a new narrator.
No, two. This is the first. This
only
is the
they
first
were
time
awake.
we've had a different one.
No, come
They've
on.
been the same the whole
No,
time.
please.
I'm sure of
If
it.
only we could find out. If only there were a resource we could search to figure out if the narrator were different.
But alas,
Only.
but alas,
If only these movies were listed
the
on a
world-
site somewhere.
the world
and
has
the
yet
cast were
to
listed.
invent this. Here we are in the legendary past where no such thing exists. So,
One day.
so we find out we're at Cameron Palace.
Yeah, we see our gang. They're
Cameron.
about to tour Cameron Palace.
We got Max.
Cameron Palace.
We got Max. We got May. We got Ash. We got
We got
Brock.
Motherfucking Brock.
Yeah, guys. Why did Brock have to be the one? Why couldn't we have kept Misty and gotten rid of Brock?
You know why? Because Brock causes the most conflict.
Okay, here's a question. Here's a real, like, okay. Would you guys have rather,
Don't.
would you guys have, okay, let's ask a series of questions. Would you guys have rather lost Brock and kept Misty? Or lost Misty and kept Brock?
Oh.
Okay, that's the first question.
I would much prefer to have Misty and have lost Brock.
Okay. Now, would you have preferred to have lost Brock and kept Tracy?
Yeah, are we talking about, like, lost Brock or replaced Brock?
Replaced Brock with Tracy.
Now, if we tried that already, it doesn't work.
We got
That's
Max.
the problem.
No, but no Misty. We had Ash, Max, May, and Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy's
Oh, no.
Tracy's
I would
just
honestly-
some dumb piece of shit.
I hate Tracy so much. I as much as I really hate Brock, I hope I never see Tracy again.
Yeah, would you guys have stopped watching these movies and doing this Pokemon podcast if it had been Tracy?
I hate Tracy. I hate Tracy.
I would have started some sort of online movement.
Because
Tracy.
so Pat would have forwarded a petition to get signed.
Do you think Tracy emerges like 3 movies into the future as the ultimate villain?
Does he really?
Behind? No, I'm wondering. Does he emerge as like the ultimate villain? Like he was forgotten,
the boss.
So he's hatched a villainous plot.
Here's the thing: where Brock is like super horny for everybody, Tracy thinks everyone's horny for him.
You think so?
And that's what Tracy is. He's always like, "Are you talking about me? Hey guys, is this about me?"
Oh yeah, I guess
Hello? Is this about me?
We only ever had like 5 lines of dialogue from Tracy,
he's always
and 2 of them were him asking if anyone was
it
talking
was about him. That's it. Tracy always thinks people are talking about him, and so even though Brock is terrible and horrible, Tracy always thinks everyone's talking about him or wants him around.
Guy's a monster.
He's awful.
I hate that
He's
guy.
just fucking
Not
rat
excited about
bastard.
Tracy.
So anyway, everyone's going to the Ren Fair, and we see another like a Tailo flying around, and he turns into a Pichu.
Right.
And then while all our guys are like inside this castle.
By the way, how did they get into that castle in that wardrobe room? Do they pay for that? I don't understand how they got in there.
Yeah, they do say, "Oh, we'll go to a costume shop," but then it looks like they're just in somebody's bedroom in the castle, trying on different clothes.
It just broke into the castle. They're like, "Let's go to the." They don't understand how like personal property works, so they're like, "Let's go to the costume shop," and they just break into somebody's house and start stealing their clothes.
Yeah, because it looked like somebody's attic.
And this little like Pokemon that keeps changing into different guys climbs in the window, meets up with Pikachu
as a Pichu,
and Pikachu's like, "Who the fuck are you?" And then he turns into a Trico and wanders away, and Pikachu's like, "What the shit is going on?" And that's as our gang is looking for costumes. And
this is actually, I thought this was a really nice touch. They buy a bunch of dumb like Renaissance Fair costumes and stay in them for the rest of the movie.
That's well, they stay in them for like an hour. When they leave the castle, they change.
So then Team Rocket finds the same place.
Right. Well, can we talk about our gang's costumes though? Because Max looks like a real dipshit. He's got this like puffy like hat on and these puffy shorts. He looks like
a child dressed as Shakespeare for Halloween.
Right. But then May comes out and she's all proud, like she's like, "Oh, I can't wait to show up." She's dressed in the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and everyone's like, "Oh wow, May, you look great. Oh wow, that's beautiful." And it's the most hideous outfit I've ever seen. They had so many options, and I don't know, it just bad taste, May.
But so Brock is dressed like a weird monk priest thing.
He looks like a choir boy.
That's true.
With elaborate patterns
accurate.
all over.
But Ash is wearing exactly what Sir Aaron wore, which I wonder if is somehow like, I don't know. I mean, do you guys think this is any kind of foreshadowing, or probably not, right?
No, I'm sure that he's just dressing as a medieval cowboy pirate to go about a normal day.
It probably has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, right? It's just a coincidence.
I'm sure this won't catapult him into being the chosen one.
Or do you think it was
a festival?
It was a joke because he is so horny that he's dressed like a monk?
Brock?
Yeah.
You know, do you guys feel like Brock actually was a little less horny this episode and more of like a crazy fanboy?
What happened was he was super horny, and then he finally had his opportunity to dance with a woman, and he lost it because he's never gotten to that point before.
We're about to get to this.
He's never gotten to actually touch a woman before.
Exactly.
We're about to get to this, but okay, they put Pikachu in a clown outfit, like real assholes, but then Pikachu, the next time we see Pikachu, he's not wearing it, so... I don't know why. But yeah, then
I love how Pikachu's the coolest person out of this entire group.
just takes the costume right back off.
Yeah,
It's like, fuck
takes
y'all.
it off. It's like, I don't have to wear this.
I'm pretty sure when we see him in the next scene, he's got both middle fingers up. And he's smoking a cigarette. So, Team Rocket shows up.
Team Rocket pops up in the costume shop.
Yeah.
Decides to get in costume so that they are back on that tip of
We're going to steal everyone's
stealing
Pokemon.
Ash's Pokemon,
Right.
which they don't make any attempt to do from here on forward. But at least in this movie, they're expressing the interest like they are supposed to do.
They could have looked at the camera and said, "We're here on purpose." And that would have served the exact same. So we find out that there's a Pokemon, like the main part of the celebration is this Pokemon battle, and we cut to like this Roman gladiator arena, and guys, did you look at the crowd in this arena? Okay, on our second watch in 6 months. It's the craziest thing. There's only like 2 frames of animation for the crowd. So it's like all the crowd is like, their hands are up, their hands are down. Their hands are up, their hands are down. And so like you're not supposed to be paying attention, but for some reason that's where my eyes went, and it looks insane. And then we see what I get, a Princess Zelda, which I guess is a new Princess Zelda.
Well, I mean, she looks exactly like the old princess.
Yeah, she's an ancestor. She's a descendant.
She's
Sorry.
Princess Zelda's
I
great-great-granddaughter, Princess Zelda.
But this is the weird thing that cartoons do, is that when they say you're an ancestor of somebody, you're their identical twin.
Right.
And that's something I've never understood why cartoons do that.
Guys,
it's like if you're a descendant of another person, or movies in general, it's like you look identical to that person.
Right.
I don't like her hairstyle is the same. She's wearing the same clothes. Literally everything about her is the exact same.
Did you guys know what her Pokemon is? She's got this little Pokemon. It's got this kind of like clown nose. It's got this like
It's like
it's
a
a
baby
baby
Mr.
mime.
Mime.
it's a Mime Junior. Yeah,
Mime
which we
Jr..
talked about. Like,
Which is weird as hell. So Mr. Mime wears clothes.
Yeah.
A baby Mr. Mime does not wear clothes. It's all skin, and then it's got
a clown hat and a clown nose.
a clown hat and a clown nose, and then it's got like 5 butt cheeks that just go around its entire.
Do you think there's a
waist.
butthole in between each of those two?
I think there's a butthole between every other one. I think it's a series of butts.
Yeah.
It's that thing is disgusting.
But it's a lot less disturbing than an adult Mr. Mime.
I don't know. I would have to see them
Crickets.
side by side.
So we hear a terrible song. Like
it's hang on. I wrote down the first verse because I was losing my mind. It starts out it's played over a Pokemon battle, and it starts out walking down this endless highway with nothing but my friends beside me.
Never give in, never rest. Advanced battle is the ultimate test. From the earth, the land, the sea, and sky. They can never win, but they sure can try. Oh, I'm unbeatable.
it's the 3rd level of hell, where you and your friends have to walk on an endless road forever.
Now, hold on a minute. Did you guys notice? Okay, this is where the credits start rolling. We are 14 minutes into the movie. And the opening credits are happening now.
Yeah.
We just had a 14-minute introduction.
But, I didn't notice this because, guys, we actually got some cool Pokemon battles in this one. Wait, am I alone here? There's like Weavile versus Tropius. You guys didn't think this was cool?
These are nonsense Pokemon. They have like a Brontosaurus with fairy wings, like dragonfly wings. That's I got. I don't know what that is.
It's a Tropius.
It's fighting what I can only describe as an evil magician, Lisa Simpson.
It's a Miss Trevis.
It's a silhouette of Lisa Simpson wearing a magician's cape.
I'm so into it. This is my favorite Pokemon.
Or wait, no, this is
okay.
Weavile. You're talking about Weavile. It's cool.
Here's the thing, though, Matt. Because you know these Pokemon, you know what types they are. It's very cool to you. I don't know shit about what's going on right now. So all I know is that things are happening.
So you guys were watching this just like, what the fuck are these things?
Yeah, I was watching them going, these are Pokemon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You guys thought for a second that the costume room had just spilled into the... So,
I was just so distracted by the fact that the opening credits were happening now. 15 minutes in.
Ash wins the tournament. Oh, also we see this transforming Pokemon like goofing off again.
Yeah, he's watching.
Ash wins the tournament, and here we go again about him being the fucking chosen one for the entire celebration, like he always is.
He becomes the guardian.
For the festival.
Yeah,
because every time there's a festival, Ash has to be the leader and the chosen one because he's just there.
Ash is the most important person on the entire planet. He is every chosen one. He is like the reincarnation of everybody. He is the one of prophecy.
Right.
What the fuck is with him?
And also though is completely unfazed by all of it too. It's just like isn't really that excited. Like he's excited that he won. But, like, the fact that he's always this reincarnation of the chosen one
it's like worn
just doesn't
off.
faze him whatsoever.
Yeah, it's not even like he rejects it. He doesn't think it's special.
Just completely indifferent.
In any way.
You're like, they're like,
thanks.
You're the guardian of the, and he's like, cool.
The
all right.
fate of the earth depends on you, Ash.
And he's like yawning. He's like picking his nose. Yeah. He's like, huh? Oh, yeah, I guess so. Cool.
Cool.
I'm a teenager now.
All right.
But the person he battled in the finals of this Pokemon tournament takes off their helmet, and it turns out to be a woman, and everyone loses their goddamn minds.
Yeah, they're freaking out. Which I guess this part of Poke Earth hasn't really gotten too enlightened to this point.
Except for the fact that half of all gym leaders are women.
Yeah, but maybe not here, right?
Yeah.
Maybe this is just one of those countries. They don't tell you those sort of things when they unfold a whole story in there.
All of a sudden, Brock is there, and he is hitting on this woman. But we saw that they're in a gladiators arena.
Right. Because there's also a guy in, like, armor.
Brock was in the audience, like the
right.
stands of the gladiator arena. In order for Brock to have been there hitting on this woman, he had to have jumped 2 stories out of his seat into the pit to run to her. But then Max...
Which is a total Brock move.
Max gets him under control.
Right.
And then they get invited to the party.
Yeah.
Right? The party in the castle afterwards, where Ash has to just sit in his seat the whole time.
Yeah, they give him a staff, they tell him he's honored, and then they make him sit in a seat and never move.
This is the part that makes me most angry, is that they give him the staff, and it's the same staff that Lucario is trapped inside of.
Yeah.
And Lucario sees him, recognizes the silhouette of the costume he's wearing, because it's Sir Aaron's old costume.
Yeah.
And again, immediately you've bonded with a legendary Pokemon simply because you're wearing the weirdest, funniest costume you could find at the Renaissance Fair.
Right, but also, it's very clear to us in that moment that Lucario recognizes or believes Ash is Sir Aaron because they look so similar. But then later, when we actually meet Lucario, he's like, it's not because they look similar. It's because they have the same aura.
He made
and it's
that
like,
up.
Fuck you. No, you're trying to save face,
Don't want to
dipshit.
look stupid.
So, yeah, Lucario's like, why did you betray me to Ash? And he's like, huh? And everyone's dancing, like, everyone's ball dancing.
Brock approaches the woman that they Pokemon battled earlier.
We find that her name is Kit or Kid.
I think it's Kid with a D.
Yeah.
K-I-D, which is weird.
Because Brock keeps calling this woman who's clearly older than him Kid.
But he walks up and asks her to dance, and he's already pretty nervous, and she says yes, and he doesn't know how to handle it.
He's just like, girls,
He
girls.
Yeah, you can tell that he's like trying to hold himself together. He's never gotten this far before, and for all the shit that he talks about how fucking cool he is
with ladies,
he's, I'm sure, never touched one before.
Thanks her profusely, and he cries literal tears.
Guys, can you imagine if you walked up to a girl and asked her on a date, and you're like, I'm sorry, excuse me, hi, I was wondering, would you be interested in, I don't know, like getting a drink sometime? And she's like, sure. And suddenly you lose your shit.
You start crying, thanking her. You're just like, oh my god,
thank you so much.
Girls,
weeping.
These girls so much to girls me. Ashleigh,
I would call the police.
Ashleigh, is that what Tinder is like?
Yes.
Okay. So,
oh, and then also, out of nowhere, I have no idea why he does this. Ash is just like, he looks around the party and says, I should release my Pokemon. And then just in the middle of a party, a royal ball inside a castle, lets all his pets loose. Nobody else is doing this.
And May, who is like out dancing with some like gorgeous prince. Well, at least like that's the way it seems by her. Like, she's like, oh, me too, and lets all her Pokemon out.
Can you imagine
if you were the host of this party?
Like, say you're throwing a fancy party, and two guests of honor just like grab a bunch of stray cats and put them in a corner.
Throw them in your party, and they literally start stealing the food off the table. And you're like, you can't do this. You have to leave.
Nobody tells him though. He's the chosen one. He gets to.
He's the guardian.
Also, guys, is there supposed to be is there some running thing with Max falling off chairs?
Oh, does that happen? I don't remember this.
Yeah, we see Max eating and he's falling off a chair, and it reminded me that during the Pokemon battle montage, Max was standing on a chair to watch it, and it like the chair fell over and somebody caught him.
Is it just like poking fun at the fact that he's small?
Well, I wonder if it's a running joke from the TV show. If it's like Max is always falling off chairs.
I always just saw it as a kid thing. Like, it's a very easy way to be like, oh, look, he's still a kid. He's clumsy and.
But why would you do it twice in 5 minutes with the same character?
Filling fucking time, dude. You really think that they're thinking this through?
Well.
So Jesse and James, Team Rocket, are dancing around the ball.
Oh, and Jessie is also losing her shit.
Jessie is so excited to be dressed up and dancing. Like, she's
splooshin' all over the place over this prince.
Yeah, she grabs the prince from May, and James ends up dancing with May by accident. And James is freaking the fuck out too.
Yeah, but they're having fun. They both admit they're having a good time. James is just like, okay, we should get to work stealing these Pokemon now, and Jessie is just too into the party.
Yeah,
and that is the last chance they have to affect the plot.
All the Pokemon are playing with this transforming Pokemon, which is disguised as an Apom, and it like leads them Pied Piper style out of the ballroom and into the hallway, and Meowth is like, hey, what's going on here? And he follows them.
Yeah.
And Kid, who's dancing with Brock, is like, ooh, I'm tired. Why don't you get me some punch? And Brock
makes a beeline for the bee, starts pushing people out of his way to get to the punch.
Right.
We get it, Brock.
Yeah. And Kid puts on these like ultra high-tech sunglasses and starts talking to an old man named Banks.
He's running on a treadmill.
Not even running. Isn't he just walking on a treadmill?
He's jogging on a treadmill. He's an older man. He's keeping in shape. She calls and she's like, hey, I got an update on our plan. Can I talk to you? And he looks down he's clearly monitoring his exercise. He says, I have 2 more minutes. And Kid says, well, take a break.
You can't. And he's like, fine, 1 more minute. Like,
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
God, I
I
didn't think I would have to answer that
assume-
question.
I think this is her sugar daddy. They're fucking.
Really?
think.
You think this is like a financial dom-sub relationship?
Yeah, sure.
This is like some fetish thing. He sends her out on adventures and funds her.
Okay, so this is what I actually think. I think he's just like a super rich old dude who wants to get some kicks, so he funds her adventures and makes her send all the, lives vicariously through her.
You don't think so you think that he does or does not jerk off when he gets the data?
I guarantee he jerks off to it, but I think that that's just a icing on the cake, as it were.
Ew, come on. Ashleigh, you can't do this. You can't do this to me and Pat, your friends.
But he does get his jollies by watching her do her adventures.
We find out that Kid is hunting a Mew, who she believes is hiding here, and then she just jumps out a window.
Yeah, but they're really vague about why they're doing any of this. It's just, I'm sure there's a Mew here. I'm gonna find it, and then that's the end of the plan that we hear.
And Meowth is like, well, looks like we're not the only crooks in this joint.
Again, never comes up again. This Meowth discovers it and then goes on a completely different adventure.
Meowth is a real part of this movie, though.
He is. He has a huge portion.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. So,
I mean, you could remove him entirely from the movie.
And the same exact things would happen?
But he does get more dialogue in this one.
So Max goes looking for all the Pokemon, and he follows a Munchlax who's stealing food. And and we find out that 8-Bomb has led them onto this like room full of toys that just happens to be where the chandelier. Okay, they make a real big visual point that this is the room that the chandelier hanging above all the dancing people is anchored. Were you guys convinced at this point? Oh, the chandelier! They're gonna knock the chandelier over.
I thought we were getting a tiny Pikachu short. This seemed like the exact right atmosphere where they all find a room that looks like a lot of fun, but they can get into a lot of trouble in.
And they were going to knock the chandelier over and kill a human being. Did you guys think that? No?
I thought it might happen.
So, yeah, we get this little Pikachu short where they're all playing around with toys. And then Kid is out on the roof, and she's dressed totally different. She's got, like, Angelica Pickles hair and this like crazy pink.
She's wearing like the pennies that wrestlers wear in high school.
Right. And she sends 2 Weavile out to. She's like watching across the way from a rooftop, and she sees this morphing Pokemon turn into Mew, and she's like, "Got him!" And then sends 2 Weavile out, which you call Lisa Simpson,
evil magician Lisa Simpson.
To like geotag this Mew, and instead they start attacking it, and Pikachu fights back and
wrecks him,
and then they come back and they knock Pikachu out.
That's true.
And Max gets upstairs just as Mew teleports Meowth and Pikachu just like away.
Right, because they're both knocked out, and Mew is trying to rescue them.
So Mew teleports them far, far away, and the Weavile go back to Kid, and she yells at them.
And Max barges in the room, and all the leftover Pokemon just... I assume they're all turning to try to tell him the story of what just happened.
But all they can say are their own names.
It's this absolute babble. It's a really funny moment.
So this is where we go back down to the ball, and Lucario in the staff gets angry again and then pops out.
Yeah.
He's just out now. He's just in the world. And he's like, "Why did you abandon the queen?" to Ash. And this is where you were talking about, Ashleigh. He's had his eyes closed for 1,000 years, and he finally opens them.
Right, and isn't not blinded by the light or anything.
Yeah,
he's totally fine.
He's totally fine.
Yeah, but I love like he's why did you abandon the queen? Doesn't Ash right then say telepathy?
Yes, he does. They always have to announce when telepathy is happening.
So can everyone hear Lucario? using telepathy, or can he only direct it at a single person? Or can Ash is the only one who understands it?
Seems like everyone can hear it, much like later when we have like a flower that communicates telepathically. It seems like everyone can see it.
Although at this point, it seems like only Ash can hear it. Everybody else, or at least I guess before he popped out of the stone, everybody else, Ash would be like, "Did you hear that? Did you say something?" And everybody else would be like, "No, what are you talking about?"
Right.
So I think the rule kind of changes,
bounces back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is fine. There's enough science fiction concepts in this movie that they don't all need to work.
Once again, eventually Lucario's like, I can tell who is who by reading their aura, but when he opens his eyes, he sees that Ash is not Sir Aaron.
Yeah.
And he runs away. And it's like, no, dude, you just thought he looked like fucking Aaron. Don't lie to us.
Yeah.
We're not dumb.
There's not really a reason for you to run around with your eyes closed if you have better vision when your eyes are open.
Guys, Lucario, they wouldn't have given us a podcast if we were that dumb. They don't just give anybody these things. So then Lucario just runs away. He sees that Ash is not Sir Aaron, and he just runs away.
He ruins the legend for everyone. He says Sir Aaron is no hero. He's a traitor.
And a dipshit. He says he's a dipshit.
Yeah, he says dipshit.
I don't know how it got past he mumbles it, so maybe they didn't hear. Maybe they weren't paying attention.
He's like, he's a traitor and a dipshit.
And it somehow made it past the censors, and it got into the movie.
But then he storms out of the castle. Ash asks the new Princess Zelda if it's true, and the princess is like, "Oh, we'll have to look further into this thousands-year-old legend."
Right. So there's a flashback to Aaron walking around the castle with Lucario and showing him how to use quote unquote aura. He's like, yeah.
It's so regardless of your feelings of the existence of auras, and I get that, especially in like an anime movie, they have to create some mystical forces just to keep everything weird. But even regardless of how you feel about the science of auras, this is not that.
Right. This is not what auras are.
It's very strange. Like, even putting aside the fact that it's pseudoscience, they explain it in a completely what's wrong.
They're talking about
basically.
souls, right? What they're describing is a soul.
Basically.
I think they're talking about chi.
No. Well, it's kind of chi mixed with your actual soul.
Oh, right, because
about.
if you use up all your chi, you don't die. But if you use up all your aura, apparently, you turn into a crystal.
Like, once your aura is gone, you're dead. So this is like an aura. That's not what an aura is. So like, what's the actual definition of an aura? That's just like
it's like a passive thing, right? Like your aura is what you give off by your your
it's
spirit
sort of like
gives off
the vibes, right? It's like sort of just the vibes that you offer, you present, or like the vibes that you bring.
If you're happy, you have a bright aura. If you're sad, you have a dark aura. If you're
cold, you have a blue aura.
If you're hot, you have a red aura.
Look, I'm not going to sit around and clearly explain what an aura is. This isn't it.
I don't know what an aura is, but I can tell you what an aura ain't. I know it when I see it, and this ain't it.
In this movie, an aura is described as the essence of a human, or like their actual
soul and
being.
Spirit and power or something.
Exactly. Your being itself represented in a light.
It sucks.
Yeah, it's dumb, but I guess it works for the. It has to do with how, I guess, like, strong of a character you... Anyway, he explains that Ash, of course, has the same aura as this legendary cowboy knight.
Yeah, he's like, you have the exact same aura.
Cowboy Bebop.
And then Max runs in. Okay, so this is after Lucario figures out he's in the future, and they bring him back to the hall after he ran away. And then Max runs back in, and he's like, guys, I saw Mew, and he took somebody's Pokemon, and then, who are you? And he looks at Lucario. And then Brock explains what happened, and Max nearly has a fucking conniption. He starts jerking around and making noises. Like, he probably was treated for a seizure right after this. Like, the scene cuts away, but you could assume that Max was in a bad place. And then Kid comes down to confirm Max's story, and she says, "He's telling the truth. I was on the roof, and I saw Mew." And nobody questions, why were you on the fucking roof?
Also, this is a rare case in these movies where at this point I was presuming to be the villain of the story, because they were secretly hunting a legendary Pokemon. Was typically at this point they would reveal their secret plan and be like, actually, I'm working for this secret organization.
Right.
But instead, she just goes along with it. She's all right. Nobody's going to question why I was on the roof or why I was specifically looking for this legendary Pokemon. And she's also revealed herself to be, I guess, like a celebrity adventurer?
Like a venture thrill seeker. Yeah, Brock loses his mind. He's like, "I'm your biggest fan." And he says, she's broken the world record for most broken world records.
I guess she's supposed to be a celebrity. I get the feeling that her job is like what Vin Diesel's job was in Triple X before the government hired him, where he's just like a guy that steals Corvettes and drives them off of bridges and videotapes the whole thing. And
just does crazy shit for, what, YouTube views?
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
You could make a lot of money doing that.
Also at this time they say, "Oh, you saw Mew. Cool. He hangs out here all the time."
Yeah, everybody's just cool with it.
The most legendary Pokemon of all time, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, he's just
He plays games, comes around.
he just comes, he steals her toys. It's cool."
Do you remember how big of a deal this was 7 movies ago? Also, speaking of 7 movies ago, I haven't brought this up, but I'm pretty sure that the voice of Lucario is the same voice as Mewtwo.
Okay.
They look similar.
I'm saying like the same voice actor.
This is like where I play them side by side, and you are either humiliated or vindicated.
I can't wait.
What makes you think that Pikachu didn't run off and desert you? Because it didn't want you for a master.
The human sacrificed himself to save the Pokemon.
It's like, so it strikes me as like the voice actor that did Mewtwo saw Batman Begins and was like, "Oh, I can do that voice too." So it's almost like if Mewtwo were the star of Batman Begins, this would be his Batman alter ego voice.
We're jumping around this.
Mewtwo Begins.
We're jumping around this scene a lot. Like, we're still on the same scene, but we're kind of jumping around the order in which it happens.
Yeah,
but
sure.
as Brock is gushing about who Kid is, who Kid Summers is her name, who Kid Summers is, Mime Jr. is behind him just mocking him.
Yeah,
just doing
following his
everything
every
he's
move.
doing and going like, meh, 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 meh,
I
meh.
like that a lot.
Brock's like, I'm your biggest fan, and Mime Jr.'s like, meh, meh, bing, it's fucking really funny, and I wish that was like a staple. Like, every time Brock talks in a Pokemon movie from here on out, there's a Mime Jr. behind him mocking him.
It's a good bit.
But Kid says she came here to solve the Tree of Beginning, which is that weird tree we saw earlier. We find out it's a rock, not a tree, whatever. Ash says he's going to save Pikachu, of course. And then
They started a journey.
yeah, well, we cut to Lucario just like walking around the castle at night.
Right.
And Ash walks in to chat with him. Lucario
thanks.
jumps 100 feet in the air, sticks to a wall, then tackles Ash to the ground and says, "You snuck up behind me. That is always a mistake."
Ash is literally walking into the building and going like, "Hey, anybody in here?"
Lucario's like, "I almost fucking killed you."
So Ash gets up and shakes it off and thinks nothing of it and says, "You know what? Thanks for agreeing to come help us find Pikachu." And Lucario is saying he didn't agree to help find Pikachu. He was trying to... What again? Like, he was trying to find what?
I don't know what his goal is
my
here.
actual reason is like I'm trying to solve the mystery of Sir Aaron. I don't trust humans. I don't work with humans.
He's like, I don't have any friends.
I don't have friends. Oh yeah,
And I don't want any.
Just
and
like
I don't
Batman.
want any. That's right. And so he turns around. He starts walking away, and this is where I notice that Lucario is pretty thick.
Thick as fuck, man.
I
Yeah, we
told
talked
you.
about
I
this
said
already,
it
but-
before we started recording. I said it at the top of this episode.
Double C. AF.
This is the one everybody wants to fuck.
And I see him walk away, and it's like they want us. So Ash says, "Nice attitude," and I swear to God, what I thought he was going to say was "nice ass," because it came out just with that same tone.
Yeah.
And yeah. So Lucario walks away with the junk in the trunk.
Speaking of in the trunk, so we cut to them all in like kids' Jeep following Lucario, who's still running like an idiot. And
He's running with his eyes closed. I don't mean to cut off. That's a good transition to speaking of in the trunk.
Yeah.
But I have to interrupt to say he's running with his eyes closed, and I guess using his aura to see, his aura viewing to see even rocks that are in front of him.
Yeah, he's seeing the aura in the rocks or whatever.
He's running with his eyes closed and making turns at the rocks, but last minute turns so that the Jeep almost crashes.
Yeah, he's trying to prank him.
Sorry. Anyway, Matt, speaking of in the trunk.
Speaking of almost crashing, Team Rocket crashes out of the trunk.
Speaking of almost crashing, I'm very tired.
Team Rocket's in the trunk of the Jeep. We find that out through some physical comedy. Then we see Mew and Pikachu in the secret garden, another secret Pokemon garden, another secret Pokemon forest garden where all legendary Pokemon hang out in water or whatever. And we do see the pile of toys that Mew has stolen, and it's really funny. Like I think I got a genuine out loud laugh because they mentioned it earlier. Like, oh, Mew hangs out here all the time. He's always stealing our toys. And then as soon as we cut to where Mew hangs out, there's a giant pile of toys. They're just playing. Yeah, Pikachu's asleep. Meowth is like, let him sleep. So then we cut back to our gang. They're eating some food, and a Bonsley shows up.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is a baby pseudo Woodoo, and its name is Bonsley, and it looks
Bonsley.
like the top of a Dum Dum Pop.
Yes. So Bonsley steals the food and starts eating it, and Brock says, "Hey, that's ours." And Bronsley starts crying. He's like, "No, it's okay. He's using fake tears attack." which is the attack I use very often for many things in my life. Fake tears attack is extremely effective.
Yeah, it's been extremely effective for me against breakups, against groundings.
Speeding tickets.
Being fired.
It's not very
It's
effective.
Matt uses fake tears attack.
It's not.
Girlfriend, it's not very effective.
It's not very effective. Matt is single.
Girlfriend uses reasonable reason to break up attack.
Yeah, but then Lucario takes the food back and then gives Bonsley a little lecture about stealing. He's like, "We don't steal our food."
But then he
Right.
gives him his own food. He
Some,
gives
like,
him Pokemon
berries.
Food.
Yeah.
Also, from this point on, watching the movie, I thought that Pokemon's name was Fonzie. I thought it was saying Fonzie.
Is his name Bonsai? Bonzi?
Fonzie.
Fonzie.
Like,
No, but the actual
Like
name.
the
I
Fonz.
know who the Fonz is.
Actual name Henry Winkler.
Henry Winkler, the Fonz.
Thank you.
You might know him. He wears a leather. Oh, sorry. You might have seen the first season. He wears maybe a blue windbreaker. But if you've
blue
seen the later
windbreaker?
seasons, he wears a leather jacket.
Are there other characteristics I should know about this person?
Oh,
Like,
his
what-
office is a bathroom.
Oh, that's weird. Does he do things to attract attention or to impress others while he's around in, I don't know, like a place that he normally hangs out?
No.
Yeah, he jumps over sharks in his motorcycle.
Do you mean on skis?
He can make jukeboxes work with the power of a light bang. With a light fist
bang?
of a light
A fist bump.
Fist bump.
Just a punch.
Interesting.
What?
With a bang. With a light bang.
With the other side of his fist. He doesn't punch it.
But a light bang? Would you mean like a tap? That would
No,
be
he
a
fucks
better...
it. He fucks the
Fucks the jukebox.
fucks the jukebox lightly and gently, and it starts playing blue suede shoes or
Oh,
whatever.
that's interesting. I need where do I watch this?
I said it at the top of the
Pornhub.
show. I'll say it again now. Fonzie fucks that jukebox.
You know it. I know it. The audience should know it.
So, Pikachu wakes up in the secret garden and starts playing with Mew, and he's like not upset at all about the fact that he's been stolen from his best friend, and like wakes up in like this random ass location. He's not upset at all. He just starts playing with toys. But this is, Pat, where they find the secret entrance to this like bubble world.
Oh yeah, they find this weird. It's like the fizzy lifting drink scene from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory,
Yeah.
where they enter this weird portal and all of a sudden
Yeah,
they're
what the
lifted
fuck,
to
you guys?
a
Where did this thing
higher-
come from?
a higher place in the tree of beginning,
It's never explained what this thing is.
or where
It's
they
just
go to. They're
a
just on
weird
different
portal
ledge
that
now.
is just there.
Yeah, and they end up just like, in a higher spot on the tree. It's very strange.
We cut back to the gang in the Jeep, right?
They cut back to the gang in the Jeep, and Lucario stops, and he's like, we can't go any further. There's water. There's like geysers shooting up.
Yeah, there's a bunch of geysers that shoot up, and they use that to find the local hot spring.
And then instead of chasing down their missing friend, they're just like, let's
They get in their bathing suits.
let's go hang out in the hot spring for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I really like this a lot. I like what's happening next though. Because everybody is playing around in the water, and May says, "Oh, it looks like there's a flower up there."
Oh my god.
And Ash starts climbing. What I love, we cut to the gang like, "Oh wow, Ash is really good at climbing." Yeah, Ash is super good at climbing. Ash, and everyone just keeps.
That's the whole thing. Is that why Ash is the hero? Like we finally found his ability. He's
His
good at climbing.
He's good at climbing. And so he gets up, he picks he gets the flower, he looks at it, and then he immediately falls off
Yeah.
of the cliff. And May's really upset because he
climb.
picked it.
Yeah, she's like, go get that flower, and he goes and gets it and falls, and
By
she's
the
like,
way-
you asshole, how do I?
Yeah, so it's just like, it's okay, we'll have to replant it later. That's not how flowers work,
You
guys.
can just steal the bulb off the
Yeah,
and then-
you don't plant the flower, the actual, the petals to regrow the flower. That's not how plants work.
Right.
And
We all-
then as we immediately find out that this is a time flower. A time flower.
A time flower, the
The-
lesser known Mario power up. The time flower.
So what a time flower can do. So Lucario has a flashback, yes? To where him and Sir Aaron are hanging out. And Sir Aaron finds a time flower and explains that when you hold a time flower, it will show you the past. But apparently it only shows you 5 minutes into the past.
Because all Ash sees when he holds the time flower is
him
himself
falling off.
falling off the
Calling
cliff.
up the time flower. This is incredible,
So
though. It is incredibly serendipitous that they found the time flower and
This
and
is-
two
yeah.
creatures that know how to use it, have the aura to use it, and they just happen to be trying to solve a 1,000-year-old mystery.
Well, also,
No, this reminds me of that. I guess no one saw this movie because it got 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's a really terrible movie. But there's
Looper.
a Nicolas Cage. No,
Oh,
thank you
sorry.
though. There's a Nicolas Cage movie called Next, where you can see 10 minutes into the future.
Oh my god.
really?
Yes. You can see 10 minutes into the future, and this just reminded me of like the opposite of that, where you have a time flower that can see 10 minutes into the past.
You're like, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he like tries to stop a crime.
So
by just
if
seeing-
This is a flower just replaying its murder, it sounds like.
Right. If the Nicolas Cage movie is called Next, the reverse Nicolas Cage movie where they see would be called Again? Question mark. So there's also a thing that happens here where we get this touching flashback to Lucario hanging out with Sir Aaron at the same hot spring. And this is where I start to think that maybe there's a romance between Lucario and Sir Aaron. They have these lingering smiles at each other.
Oh, I thought it was more of like a familial thing. It seemed like it was. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, like you said, this is the Pokemon everyone wants to fuck, Pat.
It's true. I mean, it very well could be. I'm referring to everyone in real life, but maybe everyone on Poke Earth is.
Is really into that thick ass.
Yeah.
So that night they make a campfire, and Ash recaps the first episode of Pokemon for them all. Then Lucario flashes back to Sir Aaron throwing like Home Alone style traps at him.
Yeah. Again, this is actually pretty badass. They're wearing blindfolds and they have a bunch of logs tied to ropes that are just swinging back and forth. And even with blindfolds on, they're dodging the logs. It's pretty cool. Except that there's supposedly doing it by reading the auras of these logs.
So what the fuck is an aura at
Which
this
is-
point?
yeah.
Isn't the actual definition of an aura in this movie of things that are living?
Yeah.
Or is it... yeah.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. There's a
Maybe those logs were actually Pokemon.
So they start traveling again, but then there's this scene where Lucario yells at Ash and he says, "You humans are all alike, you can't be trusted." And then Ash chases Lucario.
Oh man, this gets nuts.
Yes.
Lucario
So
starts doubting Ash's commitment to Pikachu. Ash gets super offended and just starts throwing out, like Donald Trump at a presidential debate, starts throwing out crazy conspiracy theories.
He's like, maybe Sir Aaron didn't abandon the queen. Maybe you abandoned the queen.
yeah, where did that come from?
I don't fucking...
Where'd you find that, Ash?
He was trapped in a crystal, dude. You know this for very certain. And then Lucario's like, well, maybe Pikachu left you because he hated you so much.
Ooh,
And then
that's too much.
Ash becomes infuriated and attacks Lucario.
He fucking tackles him down a
just
fucking hill.
tries
and
to
tackles
kill
him.
him.
He starts fist fighting him in the
Yeah,
water.
they are going blow for blow. Ash and a legendary Pokemon.
They're punching each
Are
other in the
fighting
goddamn
each other.
face.
Guys, I want to remind you guys what Pokemon are technically animals.
Right. Like,
They're
imagine
technically
if you,
people's pets.
At this point,
if you went to the zoo and a camel spit at you and you were like, "You motherfucker," and you jumped over the fence.
And Ash is throwing down with a Pokemon
Like
just because
literal
it can stand on 2
punches.
feet. If you're it's as if your dog could use telepathy and
Yeah.
was like, "You piece of shit, I didn't get my food today," and you're like, "You motherfucker," and just start beating the shit out of your dog.
and it's still unclear if anyone else can hear this conversation too. Everyone else might just be watching Ash yell at and then tackle an animal.
Later, May lectures Ash, and she's like, "You can't just do this, you piece of shit."
She does. She does give him the what for, which
And-
is a thing we've talked about before, right? Is that she may be there to keep Ash in check while Max is there to keep Brock in check.
And But Ash's response is, "So what?" But then we cut to Max bringing Lucario some chocolate.
Yo, I love this kid's love of candy. He's really he's adjusting the plot with it now. This is the turn.
Yeah, this is the second movie where there has been a major moment spurned by Max's love of candy.
Yeah, but at least it's candy this time and not like chips and crackers.
So we have two concepts to watch with Max, assuming that he's in any other movie. I have no idea when the gang changes again, but like we have two things to watch with Max. Well, number one, candy. Number two,
Right.
falling off of chairs.
Yeah.
So is Max's love of candy in the series as well?
I don't know. We don't watch Pokemon, Ashley.
Wait, have you been trying to watch the series, Ashley?
We don't watch
Were we
this.
not supposed to watch every episode in concordance with the movies? I didn't realize.
That's
God, I've wasted my life.
what would we call that podcast? The
Oh God, I've wasted my life.
we're
is what we
already
call
the
that
very
podcast.
worst. So
Yeah, you would have to ask the people you do that podcast with.
Meowth
Oh,
and Mew
Christ,
and
what am I
Pikachu
doing?
are hanging out in the woods playing with toys. A music box that plays the Jigglypuff song.
Oh yeah, that was neat.
That was cool.
It's a music box. Well, you just said it.
and then there's Mew is blowing this little thing because Pikachu starts to get sad.
This is the saddest scene in the world.
Pikachu starts to get sad, like, I want to go home and hang out with my friend Ash. But then Mew's trying to cheer him up by blowing, what do you call those things? Those party things that unroll and they make the noise.
What do you call those things? No, just a noisemaker?
Noisemakers?
Party noisemaker?
But he's got one that's a Shuckle, and you blow into it, and all of Shuckle's limbs and head come out.
And he's trying so desperately to cheer up Pikachu and to be like, this is your home now. You live with me here.
We're best friends.
And you get all these toys. And he just doesn't understand why Pikachu is still so sad. It's really it's a touching moment.
Right. And then
we get a brief shot of Team Rocket again, still hiding in the same trunk. Which is that's how they spend the majority of this movie. They're hungry again. They are once again just wanting for food because they've been
the same arc in every movie. They show up to steal Pokemon, they get really hungry, and then they don't do anything else. We also see Ash missing Pikachu, and Lucario watches him say out loud, like, I miss you, Pikachu. And Lucario's like, Then it's the next day, and Lucario leads them to the spot where he was trapped in the staff, and he gets real sad. And they find it, and conveniently, guess what's here, you guys?
What?
I give up.
Is it something that would serve the plot?
Is it? I actually now my notes are kind of vague here. You'd think maybe is it something that like might flash back 1,000 years to give us some sort of hint about what happened in this time? Probably not. That would be insane and just like way too coincidental, right? Oh no, that's exactly what it is. They find a time flower.
It's a time flower.
It shows.
These feel like, when you're playing a video game and you have to, well, you don't have to, but just it's an action video game. But if you go into a side room, there's like a piece of a journal, and you can collect the pieces of these journals and just get a little more in depth into the story. This is what they're doing in this movie.
Right.
This is irrelevant to the actual plot. They just keep stumbling upon them and finding out more about the backstory.
And this one doesn't really give us much new information at all. This one is just like, yeah, he trapped him in a staff and ran away.
Yeah, we already saw this.
Yeah, I think I saw this. But Lucario flips out and starts blasting his aura out wildly and almost kills all of our friends.
Until they just tell him to stop. They're
They're
like,
like,
hey,
yo,
stop. And
knock
he's
it
like,
off. And he's like, oh.
That wasn't me.
He walks away, and then Ash follows him, and he approaches Lucario, and he starts crying, He does his fake tears attack, and he says, "I'm so sorry that I tackled you and punched you in the face 100 times." And then Lucario's like, "It's okay, just promise me you won't ever desert Pikachu." And Ash is like, "I promise." And then Lucario runs away like an idiot again. He just keeps running away from everything.
With his arms fully behind him.
Launching himself forward like a toddler.
While crying.
Did you guys ever try that as a kid because you watched so many cartoons do it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. I 100% did too.
It's
I was
like,
this doesn't help at all.
Does this make me faster?
Exactly. Like, wow, this is in fact slowing me down.
Because, this is like making me unbalanced. Like, I keep falling over on my face.
Like, my teachers during track are getting really frustrated.
I'm 19 years old. I'm running the Boston Marathon.
Ashleigh, pause. Move your fucking arms. Not helping.
Guys, do you all want to go to the Boston Marathon this year and try to run it with our arms stretched out behind us?
Yes.
Guys, so if Lucario can see auras, how does he not see Team Rocket hiding in the trunk?
Because can he only see the auras he chooses to see?
Maybe he can't see it through metal.
Right.
That's true.
It's like how for a while Green Lantern's weakness was wood.
Yeah.
It didn't work. Green Lantern didn't work on wood.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's weird.
Yeah.
You could hit Green Lantern in the back of the head with a piece of wood, and
You would
Die?
You would win if you were like dressed in like a wooden suit.
Yeah.
What?
Or just the color yellow.
Is this real? That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. You never heard of the
I don't-
Green Lantern?
I've heard of Green Lantern, but I didn't realize his his weakness
Do you
was
think
wood.
it's real in real life?
So I don't know, whatever they're doing, they're running or something, and then a Regirock appears.
Yeah, what is this? There's a series of
Reggies.
like RoboCop style robots.
I love it. I love it. I laughed literally out loud during these robot
They
parts.
make horrific noises.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
What's
What was
what's
one
the
of the
Pokemon
ones-
called?
Well, I kind of want to hear you guys describe what
No,
happened
because I cannot remember. There was one that was like something ice. It was called. It was like it would say. Is it called Reggie something? I can't remember.
Yeah, they're all called Reggie.
Reggie.
They all. Okay, one is called Reggie Rock, one is called Reggie Steel, and the other one is called Reggie Ice.
That's incredible. This is like a.
And there's a fourth one called Reggie in the Full Effect.
No.
Well, come on. Guys, come on. What am I supposed to do with this?
Do your best Reggie Ice.
No, but
Everybody
is that
do
what
their
it's
best.
called?
I'll
Be
take
honest
Reggie
with me.
Rock.
Is that what it's called? That little robot that's like shooting ice or something.
The robot that's shooting ice is called Reggie Ice.
Is it really?
Yes.
Is it
Yeah.
really?
No, I'm looking at his notes, and that's how it's written down.
Yeah, Reggie Rock, Reggie Ice, and Reggie Steel.
Okay.
You guys think I would lie to you ever?
Yes.
Oh. So Regirock appears and starts attacking them. He's like a rock monster who is also a robot.
Yeah, he looks like somebody built a robot that was inspired by like Swamp Thing or something. He looks.
Swamp Thing, but out of rock
Yeah.
instead of swamp. Is Swamp Thing a Pokemon?
He's like a transformer if that transformer just turned into a rock.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Swamp Thing is a Pokemon now that I think about it.
I think so.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, Regirock starts attacking them. They all run away. They run into the tree. The tree contains a secret Pokemon paradise, as we already knew.
Yeah, you get your classic lush Pokemon undiscovered valley
Yeah.
scene where a bunch of Pokemon just come out of the trees and eat a piece of fruit.
And then Kit takes out a bunch of like little robot drones, which is also fucking par for the course in these Pokemon movies. This is like the 6th Pokemon movie where somebody had a bunch of flying drones.
Yeah. And she straight up shows Brock, because at this point she knows that Brock is so blinded by his lust that she can pull out what is clearly like those things were drilling for something.
Probably oil.
Yeah, is like she's straight up showing him this supervillain technology, and he doesn't care. He's just like, "Oh, let me help you launch it."
Yeah, the drones start digging into all those like blue crystals.
Yeah,
everywhere. Like she sends out a bunch of drones. They start digging into the crystals, and Kid starts talking to Banks, that like weird old man with the big computer. And he's wearing a crazy purple and black tuxedo with this giant black bow tie in this scene. And he's sitting behind a giant computer with this like this 270 degree keyboard around him, and it's like there's not that many letters. And we see Registeel show up, and we see all these like little like blobby things start eating the drones.
Yeah, and at this point, Banks has like he's like your inside tech guy. This is, as far as I can tell, the whole reason that Kid was added to the movie was so that at the end Banks could explain what the tree was doing, because it doesn't make any sense on its own.
Right. Well, that's this thing that I'm noticing in these movies. I've noticed the past couple movies is, all right, the TV show has 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, four main characters: Ash, Brock, May, and Max. Right. But these movies do not have plots that require 4 characters. So largely, you have this group of people that, in essence, could be one person, right? Like, most of the people do not serve individual purposes. They don't have individual arcs, and they don't do things individually, mostly because there's so many people here. The largest part of it is, how do we get these people to safety? So there's like these giant chunks of every movie now where everybody's running away or hiding, right? What baffles me is that even though they have this problem of like, what do we do with all these extra characters? They still add a character every movie. But I think you're right. Probably she was added to the movie just so we would have somebody to tell us that this was the immune system of the tree, or the tree was rejecting the humans, or whatever bullshit.
Yeah, it was very, very strange.
Right.
We had like the tree had enzymes.
Yeah.
And weird cells attacking everything.
This is right where Pikachu and Ash find each other. They shout at each other across a forest, and then Reggie appears and shoots at Ash and Lucario, and they run away.
It's one of the funniest moments. Like, I had to pause it because I was laughing. Because Reggie Ice, because like, there's not a pause between him saying his name, and because it is a robot. It's Reggie Ice, Reggie Ice, the whole thing, and I could not stop laughing because every time it showed up, Reggie Ice, Reggie Ice, Reggie Ice, the entire time, and it's my favorite thing. That's my absolute favorite villain and/or pun.
This is my favorite line of dialogue in any movie is Reggie Ice.
Reggie Ice.
They eventually run into Team Rocket, and now we have Registeel, Regirock, and Reggie Ice all converging on every human character from the movie.
What a horrible noise that was.
Yeah, it's very bad.
And they all run away, and James yells, "Feet don't fail me now." What is the origin of that?
Feet don't fail me now?
Yeah, where did that come from?
I think that's like a ragtime thing. I think that well predates comedy records.
Really?
Feet don't fail me now.
I have no idea, but
It's a really old saying.
okay, all right.
It's a ridiculous thing to put in your movie. That's textbook bad writing.
So then this goop starts attacking our homies, and it grabs. This is where it grabs Jesse.
So this is where whoever is voicing James can't understand if James is British or if he just has a really strained voice, because the way James starts talking, because he's panicking.
Yeah.
The way he screams "no" is another one of the
No!
funniest things. No.
Yes.
And you can't the voice actor can't figure out if he's British or just really weird.
Yeah, this feels like a new voice actor doing a James impression more than it feels like
Exactly.
the original James act.
We have never really seen Jesse in peril to where James was freaking out like this or panicking.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Oh.
this is one of the first times James has ever had this sort of reaction. Because at any other moment it was like, oh no, like Jesse fell off a building and no one really cares. But for some reason, Jesse actually is afraid of her actual mortality.
Well,
And
James
Aw.
sees her die, right? Like, there's
Yeah.
okay, so the goop surrounds her, and then it shrinks.
right,
Just disappears into the ground.
Like,
and that's
well,
it.
Person is gone.
it's like it dissolves her body into she's gone. There's no
Yeah.
place for the matter that comprises her body to exist. So she must be disintegrated, right?
I don't know.
Right.
With all the shit you've seen today,
Oh, James does something else remarkable here. He starts getting eaten by the goop, and in this last remarkably selfless act, he thinks to free all his own Pokemon.
oh yeah, because these things aren't going after Pokemon.
He doesn't know that yet, but he's like, run for your lives.
And they don't. They just stand there.
Yeah.
They stand
And just
there. and
watch him die.
Just
and
watch
they're
him
like,
die.
"Oh,
and
cool.
make their weird noise.
And then we see Banks, and that's where he tells us, these are white blood cells, the immune system of the tree of beginning. Like,
Gotta get a lesson in there.
there's no way you have the science on this, Banks. You are making this shit up.
Who knows? He's really rich. He has resources. He's a big ass computer. Did you know the bigger the computer, the more information it gives?
He does have for such an advanced computer, is a very basic chart of the tree of beginning
Yeah.
in front of him.
But he understands so much more about it than he has any right to.
Yeah.
So then Brock and May and Max get grabbed by the stuff. They let their Pokemon out. Ash is still trying to find Pikachu.
Oh, right. So Ash just goes running down tunnels shouting for Pikachu. They find each other, but they are on opposite ends of a chasm that has all these crystal walkways between, is running back and forth between each side, bridges. And Pikachu starts deftly just hopping out and running towards Ash with no problem. Ash, who has already recognized that there's a very dangerous breeze, decides to try to run toward Pikachu for, I can't figure out what reason. They're still going to have to go back to one of the cave entrances here.
Right, yeah, he just he's running headlong into this canyon for no reason. Just I want to touch Pikachu before we both die. I don't want to wait here for Pikachu to get to me. And he does. He gets to Pikachu. He grabs him in midair. And they both start falling to their deaths, laughing.
Just happy to be with each other for these last few moments of their lives.
But then Kid swings in with a grappling hook and saves the both of them. And then Mew saves Ash's hat.
And then Ash sees Meowth there, or hears him talk. Meowth says some smart-ass thing, and Ash just turns and looks at him and goes, Meowth? What? How did you get here?
Yeah. Because he hasn't even seen that Team Rocket is nearby yet.
Yeah, he was off still trying to fight the Reggies.
Yeah.
The Regis buildings.
But they never even saw Team Rocket back at Castle, whatever it was called, Cameron Palace.
Because they were in costume.
Right, so they have no idea that Team Rocket is even within, like, 1,000 miles of them.
This is just seeing, like, a coworker that you don't like on vacation. Like, it's just, why are you here?
Did you
Kyle?
follow me? No. Also, there's an interesting thing with Meowth here. Meowth is upset that when he finds out that Jesse and James got gooped.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I didn't even know they liked each other.
Maybe not upset enough. He was happy to continue living with Mew and just not doing anything, never seeing Jesse and James again.
But Meowth is like, Jesse and James, my best pals?
Yeah, that's true. And then we do get back to the goop. That it just starts. We find out that it's not attacking Pokemon. It's only attacking humans, and
It grabs Kid.
it gets everybody.
And it gets Ash. But as it gets Ash, every Pokemon, even other people's Pokemon, try to pull Ash out of the goop, and then everyone cries when Ash is dead.
Yeah.
Once again, Ash is for some reason the most important person to every person.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Right.
And-
Even though there's literally no reason,
And then
justification
And
for
then once again, they all start crying.
So Ash dies. Yeah, this is once again Ash is dead in this movie. This is what
Right.
the fourth movie in which Ash has died, or the third.
that. Is it the fourth one?
Has Ash
which
died
he's
3
dead?
or 4 times so far?
He died
Let me
in
see.
one.
Right.
He died in the first movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
Didn't he die in the Lugia one?
yeah, he dies. I think so.
Wait, how did he die in that one?
Did he die in Celebi's Nasty Nest? I can't remember.
Oh,
I
he-
remember
no,
talking
that
about
was-
him
I
dying
feel like
a bunch.
he's dying all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like this guy just dies a lot.
He's just a guy who dies often.
He died
So
once
he's
during
dead.
one of the Pikachu shorts, and we just didn't see it.
Yeah, probably.
All right, so he's dead, and everybody's really upset.
And then they start crying.
And Mew is so moved by all of these Pokemon's tears that he gives Pikachu Ash's hat. And it's Ash is like, thanks, but I would rather have my friend back. And so Mew goes up to one of these blue crystals that's sticking out, puts its hand on it, and says something, whispers to the crystal. And then everybody...
I mean, he's a Pokemon, so he probably says Mew.
Yeah, that's true. And then everybody's back.
Everyone's back, just like that.
They're good.
Everyone's just there, back. And then the Reggies are all like, all right, cool, and walk away.
We find out through I forget who even says it, but one of the people has figured out that Mew has a symbiotic relationship with the Tree of Beginning,
Probably Banks.
and just told the system's immune system that it doesn't have to worry about the people, that they're good people, and they can hang.
But he wasted so much, I guess, aura on this that he starts dying. And
So-
everything, the entire tree starts crumbling, which is a huge deal for some reason.
Yeah, it's where they all are, I guess. If it dies, they all die.
So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but also everyone has a finite amount of aura.
Apparently,
That's like saying you have a finite amount of soul.
Yeah, this is where we find out, right? There's is there one more time flower here?
here's what my notes say. Mew takes them to the middle of the tree, and they see Sir Aaron's glove on it. Lucario reveals that Aaron is in the heart of the tree. Oh, yeah, and here's a convenient time flower.
Time flower.
Ash touches it, and they see Aaron calling for Mew. That Ho-Oh Mew from before that we didn't understand. And he says, "Take my aura. The power of aura will prevail." And it makes
He just gives it to Mew, and then
everything glows, and the armies stop fighting each other.
they all want to get along.
The armies from the beginning of the movie. And then everyone's like, Sir Aaron sacrificed it. Everyone in the present is like, Sir Aaron sacrificed himself in order to save the kingdom and restore peace. And then Lucario's like, I have to do the same thing.
Yeah, as Sir Aaron in his closing words actually apologizes to Lucario and says, I know you're not here, but I need you to know that I didn't betray the country, and just like leaves a voicemail for him on this time flower as he's dying.
I have to say, guys, I'm being very vulnerable here. This scene got me.
Really?
Oh,
It got me a little bit.
Really?
Because he sounds so skeptical. Like, where he was like, I guess maybe we'll see each other again, and you're always a good friend to me. And Lucario was like, I feel the same way.
It was.
I think it was. I thought it was sweet.
Yeah.
And I thought it was touching. So fuck you guys.
It was. I thought it was very satisfying that Lucario got to see that story through. It really doesn't serve the plot at all. Again,
It was closure.
but yeah, I'm glad that he got there.
I thought it was funny that Lucario tried to sacrifice himself to save the tree and he didn't have enough aura.
Yeah, that
Like I
is
said, a limited amount of aura.
his very next step is like, I have to follow in his footsteps, and he tries to give his aura to Mew, and it's just not good enough. You're not as
But,
good
like,
as.
We should mention here, because I'm going to mention this again in a minute. Sir Aaron in that last few moments says I had to trap you in the staff because otherwise you would have followed me and tried to give your life, and I want to save your life. I'm going to mention something about this in a minute, so I wanted to. But anyway, so then Ash is like, hey, I can also give my aura, and now suddenly Ash has magical powers.
Yeah, he puts on those weird gloves. Here's the thing I don't know. Does Ash understand that if he gives his aura to Mew in this case, he's probably going to die? Like that the end result here is that
I don't think
person
anyone understands what an
dies?
aura is in this movie.
Somebody-
Even though it's very clearly explained.
Somebody says to him, it's too strong. You could destroy yourself. And Ash says, I'm not going to give up, like Ash always says.
I don't care.
So what? Don't tell me what to do. Ash and Lucario do a magic spell, and then at the last moment, Lucario pushes Ash out of the way, which I don't know why that works.
He uses that big old booty that Ashleigh was pointing out earlier and just hip checks the
Lovely
hell
lumps.
out of him.
Ash falls on the ground.
Yeah, he's 3 feet away.
Love it.
So Lucario takes the brunt of the aura
suck?
giving blast.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Himself, he takes over. And
Everything turns
Mew is
green.
saved. Yeah, everything turns green again.
The bubble world comes back. The little fizzy lifting drink.
Yeah.
Fuck is that? Whatever. Explain it. I'm so frustrated.
I think
right
it's
now.
like an elevator. I think that's all
That's all it is.
Okay.
It's just to get you to another
Okay.
level.
And we cut to Team... And so everything starts repairing itself, and we cut to Team Rocket. And James is like, seems like everything is back to normal. And Jesse's like,
That was a good James impression.
thank you. And then Jesse's like, which means we're back to being losers.
They've just accepted it. They don't even get knocked into oblivion in this one. They just
Yeah,
they
they're
end
like,
by
"We're the
being like, I
worst."
guess we're just
Awful.
terrible.
But Meowth shows up, and it's actually kind of like, this didn't get me, it didn't make me tear up or anything, but I felt when Meowth reappeared and hugged both of them, it was surprisingly touching.
Yeah, he was happy to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cute.
Because we've never seen affection between those three.
It's true. Because we always assume they're just sort of co-workers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they reveal the ultimate plan of Kid and Banks, which was to turn this into like some tourist zone. They were
like
coming into
theme park or something, I guess.
Yeah, where you can see Mew and climb around the tree of beginning and get annihilated by those fucking Reggies.
The immune system.
That would just,
Reggies!
but she says, you know what? Maybe don't worry. Let's not do it.
Let's not.
Banks is like, but we could make so much money. And she says, yeah, but we shouldn't. And Banks goes, whatever. I'm rich anyway. And just like dances for a second. That's the end of Banks in this movie.
That's the end of. That's a series wrap for Banks.
Yeah.
Guys, I think Banks may be one of my favorite characters. Like, next to Mullet Guy,
Pokemon Hunter.
the Pokemon Hunter, I think Banks may be one of my favorite characters.
Yeah,
Banks
Banks
is
is up
rad.
there.
He's named Banks. He's a rich guy named Banks.
If we're building an A team of Pokemon extras,
We got
I think you
Muscle
need,
Mullet Man,
yeah, but
Banks.
he's your muscle guy. Banks
Yes.
is your eccentric billionaire.
Pokemon Hunter is your like.
He's your
He's like your rogue,
yeah. He's your Wolverine.
and then you have Hot Dog Robot and Hamburger Robot,
Hot dog robot. Oh, Reggie Ice.
and then Reggie.
Reggie Ice as your man.
That's like a.
This
That's
is a
super
hell of a
cheap.
movie. I want this movie to happen.
So, Lucario dies.
He dies. He's dead.
Yeah.
Should we have given more like ceremony to that? No, Lucario just dies.
Yeah, there's a weird moment where everybody's like, Lucario, maybe you don't have to die, and I don't know where they're getting that, but they walk up to him and as he's dying and say, maybe don't.
And he's like, nah, I'm dying.
Yeah, and then he's just like, no, listen, this is what I want.
So this is what I want to talk about.
Today.
So clearly Sir Aaron failed at protecting Lucario, right? Like he trapped him in that staff to stop Lucario from following him and sacrificing himself to the tree. But by doing that, all he did was prolong by 1,000 years Lucario's like experience. So for like as far as what Lucario experiences, Lucario was there, then like 10 minutes later wakes up in a castle and then goes straight to the tree and kills himself. Like,
Yeah.
it's like Sir Aaron failed so hard at protecting Lucario.
Yes.
He does also, I mean, I guess you can blame some of this on Lucario, but Lucario was so hurt by that betrayal that for 1,000 years, he was just like, no, I'm not getting out of his gem. He got out of that gem by choice. He didn't like, nobody
that's true.
released him from it. He just popped out when he was like, oh, you motherfucker.
Right, so it's not like Sir Aaron didn't buy Lucario any like life. Didn't buy him any like
Yeah. He gets another week and then he meets the exact same fate
that he was trying to
that Sir Aaron was trying to stop him from meeting.
Right. And all of this only happens like at this point I'm realizing how crazy this movie is, like the plot of this movie. All of this only happened because Mew was being a jerk.
Yeah, Mew turns out to be like this weird puck-like just
Right.
spirit that runs around the forest fucking with people.
If he hadn't showed up and kidnapped Pikachu and Meowth, then the humans wouldn't have gone into the tree. The immune system wouldn't have kicked on. Lucario wouldn't have had to sacrifice his own fucking life to save it, to save Mew, who started this whole thing in the first place.
You're right. We're back at square one.
Mew wouldn't have kidnapped all those Pokemon if Kid's Weavile didn't attack him. So all of this is Mew's fault and Kid's fault and didn't have to happen at all. This whole story has no moral. It has no, like...
Yeah, you and Kid have their own thing going on. Why can't they just sort it out without getting a bunch of teenagers involved?
No, and killing 1,000-year-old legendary Pokemon.
Yeah.
All right, so if we were to extract a moral because you have to in order to justify putting your kids in front of these things, what would it be?
Don't follow magical creatures into attics.
This is a very good point. Pat, what would be the moral you would take from this?
I guess if your friends get lost or kidnapped, look for them with everything that you have. You have to go out into the world and find them. There's no point in contacting the authorities. Ashleigh, what's
I would say that Lucario was right. He didn't trust humans from the beginning, and it proved it correct.
Yeah, they killed him. Ultimately,
If you don't trust somebody, just stick with that feeling. Trust your gut.
ultimately, humans are the reason Lucario died.
He died. He didn't trust humans. He said they're all the same. And then he was like, well, maybe they're different, and then they killed him. Don't trust anyone.
So after this, we get the requisite everyone saying goodbye to each other. Bonsly stays with Mew in the secret forest. Lucario somehow magically appears in the painting in the castle next to Sir Aaron.
Yeah.
And then everyone just says goodbye in the credits. Pat didn't see this part.
I skipped the credits because I watched this immediately before we recorded.
Yes, I know.
There is a very weird moment at the very end of the movie before the credits roll where Ash steps outside and just remembers something Lucario said and then looks up to the sky as if it's coming from the sky. But then the gang walks out behind him and is like, Ash, what are you looking at? And they all just look up into the sky behind him, and then that's the end of the movie. And
They're all just staring at the sky.
They just pan out at Ash staring into what feels like directly into your eyes through the TV screen as you finish watching the movie.
And that's Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. All solved. We solved the mystery, and Lucario's dead.
It's the mystery is. Mew was there the whole time.
Yeah, what is the mystery? Mew exists. Mew steals toys.
We found out at the beginning.
Yeah.
No joke, though. I think, was the mystery honestly where he took the toys?
Yeah.
I think that is the mystery.
That was the mystery. Was that he stole the toys and we found out where he put them?
Because it's really the mystery of Sir Aaron, right? Mew was not mysterious in this movie at all.
Exactly. And Mew was just there was a focal point. We were trying to figure out what happened to Sir Aaron this entire time. It definitely should have been named The Mystery of Sir Aaron.
So that's the movie.
Yeah, that's it. You know what got me about the end of this movie is you knew that the movie was going to have an ending and then have to have a second ending.
Yeah.
Which I thought was going to be they were going to find Pikachu, get out of the tree's immune system safely, and then Kid was going to reveal herself to have been hunting this Mew, and they were going to have to stop Kid from
stealing the
Mew. But they didn't. They went in a different direction, which was just that the tree starts dying. So I was surprised by that. I thought that would have been the easy choice to make, and instead they just kind of made a different easy choice, I guess. I don't know.
They made a more plotless choice.
Yeah. But because it didn't make any sense, I wasn't able to guess that it was going to happen.
It's true.
It caught me by surprise.
How do you guys feel about this movie?
I mean, I think I stated this from the beginning that
we already stated this, yeah.
This is my favorite one so far.
I would say that this one is more like a movie than the other ones have been.
Right.
Yeah.
As I don't know if I said this already or not, but it's more it's a little more plot heavy. The characters are a little more well defined. It's like somebody made a real movie here, not just a 60-minute bright light fest.
Right.
But it's boring as hell.
The random pointlessness of the movie gives it a Big Lebowski vibe.
Who's your antagonist in this movie? What are they even struggling against?
Yeah, there is no antagonist. You're right.
There was no
Everybody's
true
a good
big
guy.
villain.
There's not even an abstract antagonist.
I thought Banks and Kid were going to be the villains.
Yeah.
We're actually working for
Same.
Team Rocket or something. And they ended up just being like, oh, this thing we wanted to do, we don't really want to do anymore, so fuck it.
God, wait, yeah. This movie didn't really have a plot, did
It
it?
literally didn't have a villain.
They lost a Pokemon and had to find it.
And Lucario was confused about something and then
Yeah, I
figured
guess
it out.
the labyrinth of the Tree of Beginning is the antagonist here.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
All right, guys, it's time for everybody's least
Jesus
favorite segment of the podcast.
I don't want to do this.
I
don't wanna do this.
Rankings. Rankings. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Celebi ahead of this one.
Okay.
Celebi's still my number one.
That's fair.
I think this goes into number 2. And then after that, it was it Jirachi Wishmaker that I liked? No, that one didn't make any sense.
The Butler one? You didn't like that one?
I don't know. I know that my least favorite is Pokemon 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Is that the same one as Latios and Latias? I'm
No.
getting so
Latios
lost.
and
Okay.
Latias.
Latios and Latias is my second least favorite one.
You're missing Mewtwo Returns and Pokemon 3, the movie, and the first movie.
Wait, I thought Latios and Latias is Pokemon 3.
No, Pokemon 3 is the Spell of the Unknown.
Oh, God. Okay.
yeah.
The Spell of the Unknown. So it's Celebi, this one, Spell of the Unknown, and then Pokemon the first movie,
Okay.
Okay.
Mewtwo's Revenge or whatever.
There's 9 of them.
And then Latios and Latias, followed by... Wait, Pokemon 2000 is the one with the birds?
Yeah.
Followed by Pokemon 2000, my least favorite one.
Yeah.
The one with the birds.
They're all with birds.
Okay.
No, that was heavily bird centric.
I'm going to say my favorite is... Shit, fuck, god damn it. Celebi. Then this one. Then Jirachi. Then Pokemon 3 Spell of the Unknown.
Okay.
Then Mewtwo Returns. Then Pokemon Heroes, Latios and Latias. Then the first movie. Then 2000. Is that all of them?
I don't know.
No. Who knows? How could we ever find out?
Ashleigh, it's you.
Yeah, get him out as quick as he can.
Oh boy, here we go. Okay. All right, so this is my number 1. I'm gonna say number 2. It's a toss-up between Celebi and Sriracha. So, Lucario, Celebi, Enya. No. Sriracha. All right, and then.
I thought this was your favorite one, and you put it at like number 4.
No, I said Lucario was number 1.
Okay.
Lucario, Celebi, Sriracha, Jirachi.
Okay.
That one. Enya. Latios. And Latias. Something like that. Oh fuck, guys.
This podcast sucks.
Yes, so hard.
This is so...
Mewtwo Returns, the first movie in 2000. Which one am I missing?
I think that's all of them.
It's
No,
gotta
that was
be.
only 8. That was only 8. We have 9.
Did you get Mewtwo Returns?
Yes.
Revenge of the Mewtwo?
Revenge of Mewtwo. Mewtwo Strikes Back. Mike 1 Strikes Back.
Oh god damn it. Did you get 2000?
Yeah.
Did you get Celebi?
Yes.
Did you get Latios and Latias?
Yes.
Did you get the first one? Oh, guys, we all missed Destiny Deoxys.
Oh, that's right.
Like-
That's how forgettable that.
Let's stick that one right in the middle.
Yeah, right in the middle.
Right in the middle
for everybody's
for
list.
all of us.
So if you're keeping score at home,
It's everything we said, but Destiny Deoxys right in the middle.
Guys, if anyone's listening, hello. Is anybody out there? Listen. If you're listening to this, could you write down like every week someone could take initiative, because I sure the hell am not. So will you like take a list of just one episode of where we say our listings and email that to one of us or tweet at us or whatever the fuck?
this is a great way to reach out to fans.
I know.
Is asking them to do admin work for us.
You know you love us enough.
Speaking of
Just
reaching
write 'em
out
down.
to fans, guys, if you've made it this far, 2 hours into this podcast, please review us on iTunes and follow us on Twitter. Friend us on or follow us on Facebook. And I don't know, whatever. Email us at theveryworstpod@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next Tuesday, next Tuesday, if we can get a record, we're doing a special project for Christmas. So we might have to take a week off to record that, but we're gonna we'll try our best to get the next episode up by next Tuesday.
Because we know you're itching for it.
We know you're
cannot wait.
Yeah, you're clamoring for it. It's the next episode is Pokemon Ranger and the Temple of the Sea, which I believe
Sounds like the worst thing I've ever.
which I believe is our last Max and May episode.
Did they die? What happens to them?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out, or we won't, like
I'm
we did
sure
with Misty.
We'll find out.
So that'll be hopefully next Tuesday. If not, it'll be the Tuesday following. Well, this has been
I'm
fun.
tired.
And
It's very late and we're very tired. Please,
you know,
please just
I have
stop listening to the podcast. So
I
we
have
can stop
I have
talking.
the hiccups, and I woke up this morning and drove 12 hours from Indiana to do this podcast.
That's all. Go ahead.
No, I don't even know how to get out of this podcast.
Feet don't fail me now.
Oh my